reason that I'm making this video this morning is all to do with a challenge that was set on the Bushcraft UK forum, the Daniel Boone challenge. Depending on who you are watching this, if you're from the UK you may not have heard of Daniel Boone, at least I hadn't before I looked at the challenge. If you're from the US then quite possibly you know all about Daniel Boone. So the challenge was set on the forum. You can go and have a look at the post. Basically, in short, the post gave a description of the kind of kit that you had to take. The overall idea is, in short, that you spend 2 nights out, 2 consecutive nights. I've never done 2 nights out before. I've only ever done 1, so that's going to be quite interesting. Also, you had to do a bit of travelling in between, a bit of walking, so not just set up camp for 2 days. The idea is that we're going to set up camp on the first day after a little walk, pack up again, go for a little walk again and find a second camp somewhere. One of the other challenges is to make something while you're out there, some kind of contraption. So example could be pot hanger, something like that. Obviously to have fun as well. But basically the idea is that you just go back to kind of basics, using more basic kind of kit, as much as our modern kit allows really. I've not quite gone to the degree of wearing moccasins, but you know, I've sort of tried to keep my kit as simple as possible really. There's a lot of absolutely brilliant kit out there now and it can make, you know, sleeping outdoors quite comfortable. I don't think this is going to be one of those comfortable trips, but I think it's a nice little tribute to Daniel Boone. I'll be honest, probably like a lot of other people in the UK, I didn't know anything about the guy. What I did is I went to the Amazon bookstore and I bought this. I've not finished reading this yet, but I'm probably a good 2/3 of the way through, and it's already taught me quite a lot about the guy. This is a biography. I would say that I'd probably prefer to maybe look at some of his own writings rather than sort of read them third hand from somebody else, but you know, it's done the job. This will be the first of 3 videos if all goes well. This one is just kind of a pre-event sort of video, just to have a quick look over the kit that I'm going to be using. Like I said, really, I've tried to keep things as basic as I can. You know, given that a lot of our stuff is a lot more modern than they would have had in the 1700s, couldn't quite go, you know, all out, but I've done the best I can really, and this will be the most basic camp that I've done up to now. And to stretch it over 2 nights will be interesting to see how I get on. So first of all, I've gone with a pack. It did say on the forum that there were extra points if you didn't have a pack. It'd be pretty difficult for me to do that. I have got a bedroll, which I'll show you in a minute. I guess what you could do, and what I've seen people do, is use the bedroll to carry quite a lot of stuff in, and then maybe if you had a haversack or something like that just to fit your other bits and pieces in, you know, you could absolutely go without the pack. That's a little bit beyond my skills at the moment, so I've chosen to stick with a pack. Okay, so this is a low alpine sting pack. It's an ex-forces pack, got it at a really reasonable price. I'm not going to go into too much detail today about my kit. I'm more than happy to do any sort of individual videos and reviews on any other kit that you want more information about. This is the only pack that I've got now. I have owned other packs in the past. I know some people tend to find that they like to own more than one pack depending on what they're doing. I'll be perfectly honest, this up to now anyway has done absolutely everything that I could ask of it. It's absolutely brilliant pack. So like I say, I can give anyone more information on it if they want that. I've got a couple of bungees on here. I've got 4 bungees in all, but I've lent 2 out to one of the other guys that'll be coming with me. It's his first camp out, so he's only going to be coming with us for the 1 night, but I've lent him a couple of bungees just to help him with carrying kit and that kind of thing. One of the most useful things I've ever bought, just for stringing up a tarp really quickly. I do have paracord as well. Okay, so that's the pack. Now the main piece of kit, probably that's going to take up pretty much the majority of my pack, is this thing. Check Army bedroll. it definitely isn't a light piece of kit. I think this thing weighs about £9. Some of you will have heard of them, some not. Really, really good piece of kit. This was one of the first things I bought for when I started doing overnighters. If you've seen my other videos, I've not been doing this for very long. This thing, it only cost me about £10, so really, really cheap. I was lucky enough to get, I think, one of the better ones. They are X-issue, so some are a little worse for wear than others, but for £10 you just can't go wrong. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this today. You know, but what I will say is if you're just looking to get out for the first time, these are a really, really good piece of kit. They'll keep you warm, they'll keep you dry, providing you've got some, you know, alternative cover over the top of you as well, tarp, tent, that kind of thing. But for £10 it just allows you to do so much. You know, the downside of it is, you know, it's not light and it takes up quite a bit of room in your pack. So for me, this is going to go in first. This is pretty much all I'll be using for something to lie on or sleep in. You can sleep in it, but obviously, you know, if you sleep in it, it's less to sleep on, if that makes sense. So I tend to try and sleep on top of this because you've got a double layer then. The way it works is it's folded. I'll maybe show you that in the next video. But I'm not going to have a sleeping bag this time. The idea is that you either take a bedroll with you for this challenge or you take 2 wool blankets. I haven't got wool blankets, so this is going to do for me. Okay, another really important thing for this challenge is obviously going to be some water protection, some shelter, something to sleep under. A lot of guys in the UK here, I'm not sure about the US, I think this is a UK based company. A lot of guys over here really recommend these. It's a DD 3x3 tarp. It's the first tarp that I've bought through, you know, really good recommendation off other people. It's about £35, so I mean, if you compare it to a tent or the likes, it's really, really cheap way again, some cover. Obviously, you know, they do have their limitations. Ideally, you want this strung up, you know, with some trees, but you don't have to use trees if you go on this site. You know, they've got some really good setups using walking poles and things like that. I haven't got walking poles at the moment, but they're just so versatile, really, really good, and they hold up really well as well. You know, I think the only weakness with something like this is sparks from a fire. You just need to be really careful. They are flammable. It only takes a spark to touch one of these and you end up with a hole in it, so you just got to be a bit careful with it, really. That's not particularly packed small. They do pack smaller than this. It's just the way I tend to pack it. I just stuff it all in. There's a fair bit of paracord in there as well, my ridgeline, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I've got there. Again, this is something X-issue. I paid about £5 for this. It's a jungle stuff sack. As far as I know, it's pretty much waterproof. In here, I've just got a couple of spare clothes. I'm not taking much, to be honest. Just a spare pair of socks, woolly hat. You know, it's the middle of August, so some will say maybe a bit overkill, but you know, I do tend to find sometimes early mornings now, it's getting down to about 10 degrees. You can just feel a little bit cold when you first get up. These things are really good if you just get that little bit too cold in your sleeping bag. You know, bear in mind that I haven't got a sleeping bag this time. I'm just sleeping on top of a bedroll. It's just a really, really light way of carrying something that makes a real difference to how warm you feel. So I always tend to take one of these. You know, we're going up into some mountain area as well, so you know, the temperature can change very quickly and you can feel quite cold, so thoroughly recommend always carrying a woolly hat. Also taking German military issue jumper. This thing is incredibly warm. I think I paid about £18 for this, brand new. Really, really good quality. And like I say, it's just so warm. Again, you know, it's maybe you could say it's a bit overkill for middle of August, but I do tend to find sometimes when you settle down in the evening and you just sat down, you can sometimes feel the chill. And also, as I said, you know, first thing when you get up in the morning you can feel a bit cold. Slip this on for a couple of minutes just while you're doing a few jobs around camp and you soon warm up. And that's pretty much it really in there, so put that back in my stuff sack. You know, your spare clothes, you want to make sure that they're in a separate dry bag really. If you do get soaked through, it's not much fun if your spare clothes are soaking wet already. The compression straps on these are really good quality, so you can be quite heavy-handed and rough with these, but I haven't got a lot in there this time, but you know, that can crush up quite a few clothes. I've had complete spare change of clothes in here before with the other things I showed you, and it can compress to not much larger than that. I've got a few little bits and pieces here, which I tend to pack away in the other pockets. First aid kit, really important. I've just got all of my stuff in a Ziploc bag at the moment. I've not gone out and bought anything more posh looking at the moment, but in there I've just got, you know, typical things, plasters, bandage, bit of tape for the bandage, some Boone sachets are thoroughly useful. People quite often tend to burn themselves whilst they're out playing about with fire. A few different types of painkillers there, ibuprofen and paracetamol, just because you can take those at the same time if you're in really bad pain. Set of nail clippers as well. I find something like that really useful. If you catch a nail doing something and it's hanging off, it's not much fun if there's no way of really getting that off cleanly. So just a really good thing to carry. That lot just tends to go in the top compartment of my pack. Trying to show you. So under this flap here, there's an extra compartment. Just like to keep things like the first aid kit out of the way in there. Other stuff that goes in here, spare paracord. Like I say, I pack my ridge line and everything else separately. That's spare. I've not had to use it up to now, but you know, it's always handy to have there in an emergency of any sort. DC4 sharpening stone for my blade. Hopefully I won't have to use this when I'm out. I've already sharpened it up, but again, you know, just in case of an emergency really. Grind pegs for the tarp, very important. I did actually forget those on my last trip out. Made putting the tarp up a bit of a headache. Not impossible, because obviously you can craft up some pegs out of wood, but just save you a lot of time. You know, if you're looking to set up quickly, you don't want to be sat there carving up pegs. So pretty useful to just carry. I carry quite a few of those. You can never really have enough. They don't take up much room really, so better to have too many than not enough. I think that's about all I put in there. Something else I tend to take as well is just a spare carrier bag. I've tried to keep the food that I'm taking this time as really sort of basic. I've not got a lot of packaged food, mostly all just raw ingredients, vegetables, that kind of thing, just to sort of keep it as close to the challenge as I can. You know, I've got no tin stuff or anything like that, but I will have a little bit of litter, and it's just handy to carry it out in something like this. Just because it stops you from soiling the inside of your bag really, or getting stuff over anything else. So I always tend to take a spare carrier bag. It's a good survival item anyway, you know, it's got loads of uses. You know, you can sit on that if you need to sit down somewhere, not get your bum damp. just a useful thing to carry anyway. Okay, so on the top of the back then I've also got another pocket here, which is really useful for anything you just need quick access to. I keep a few things in here already, spare carabiners, that kind of thing. But in here I tend to put my edge tools and that kind of thing. So, more bushcraft knife. Bargo Laplander saw. UCO candle lantern in there. No head torch this time, just basic candle lantern. Waterproof trousers. Yeah, so this is pretty much all that I have to start a fire this time. A little bit apprehensive about it. Normally I tend to use, well, I've gone through the man-made fibres, you know, things like cotton wool, Vaseline soaked cotton wool, makes starting a fire really easy. But yeah, trying to go back to basics a bit. For the challenge they did say fire steel, as in, you know, cold piece of steel and some flint. I did have a look at those, but they're about £20–25 for a set. I didn't really want to spend that just for this challenge. It doesn't tend to be the kind of thing that I'd probably use for anything else. So yeah, it just doesn't really interest me. So as close to that as I could get. As close to that as I could get. Fire steel and just a tin full of char cloth basically. So I'll put those in the top flap as well. Fire steel is a really important thing to make sure that you know where it is all the time. I'm not completely happy with the way I've got my setup at the moment, but what I tend to do with this at the moment is just inside this pocket. There's a little clip, I think it's designed for keys, but I always make sure it's just attached to something there. If you forget to do this zip up and you go off for a walk somewhere, especially like the Brecon beacons, something small like this can easily fall out, you're never going to find it, and then you've lost your source of fire. So really important to keep tabs on something like this all the time. Also for under this top flap, something I forgot to put in, basic toilet kit. It's just toilet roll and some hand sanitizer gel, but for a two-nighter, pretty important to have something like that really. Basic billy tin. Believe it or not, this was a £4 item. I think it started life as a coffee tin or something like that. Just bored a hole in the top, a couple in the sides, put a bail handle on it. It's stainless steel, so it's perfect. Just a nice little cheap piece of kit really. In there, just a basic brew kit. There are things like hot chocolate in there, but to be honest I'll probably just stick to things like coffee and basic tea. Just keep it a little bit more traditional again. Also in there, that's all I've got to eat with this time. Normally I use a spork or something like that, but this is an olive wood spoon I bought on holiday. I've not used it yet, and it's just nice and traditional looking, so I thought I'd use that this time. Secondary knife, just for food preparation. I will use my primary knife for some food prep as well, but it's just useful when you're in the middle of doing things, just to have a more hygienic knife if needs be. So if I'm cutting raw meat with my other knife, it's just handy sometimes to have something like this spare. This is actually just a cheese knife, but I like it because it's really, really small, backs down nice. I've got just a basic army issue pouch here, so I've got quite a lot of spare food in there, which I won't go into right now, but you'll see some of that stuff on the trip. Spare candle for my UCO. They last about 9 hours, but if I do decide to keep one running all night, which I might do because I've got no other source of light, it's going to be pretty pitch black out there. So I've got one per night, which is good. Bandana. Most of my kit is all pretty inconspicuous, designed to blend in. I just thought I should have something really which is bright. Again, especially if you're going somewhere like the beacons, some kind of emergency, it's just useful to maybe have something brightly coloured on yourself, so that's why I decided to go for that. I might just keep this as a spare and go for a separate one of these, more in this kind of colour. But the idea of this time is this is going to be my water filter. I've never filtered water before, I've always carried enough in with me, but because I'm going to be there for 2 nights, you know, I'm going to have to filter water, so the idea is that I use this to filter water and I'll boil everything just to be sure. To be honest, the water up there is fairly clean, you know, it's fresh off the mountains, but better safe than sorry. You don't want to end up with a stomach bug and ruin the trip. This is all the water I'm taking with me this time. Part of the challenge is that unless it's unsafe to do so when you're going somewhere where you don't know there's any water sources, 1 litre of water maximum. I've travelled with just 1 litre of water before, tend to carry sort of 2.5, so it'll be nice and light this time, but you know, I'm going to have to be really sure that water's one of my first, water's going to be one of the main things really. As soon as I set up, I'm going to need to make sure that I'm boiling water. So this is just a 1 litre, just plastic bottle. I had to rush out and buy this yesterday. This is a new piece of kit. Ideally I'd have a stainless steel one of these, but I couldn't source one out, you know, in time, so I just had to go for this. The downside of this is it is BPA free, but it does say not to put any hot liquids in this. Now I'm going to be boiling water, so I was hoping to boil the water and tip that straight into here and let it cool, but I'm not going to be able to do that, which means whilst water's cooling, my biddy's not going to be able to be used for anything else. Bit of a pain, but I'll have to manage. So this is a brand new piece of kit I'm going to be trying out for the first time. I did have an aluminium set, just really basic, which I can show you another time. To be honest, I just never got on with it. It was really cheap, so it was good for what I needed it for, which was to just get me out on some camps, but everything just tasted foul to me, so I was really excited when the missus said that she was going to get me an anniversary present. I asked her for one of these, so this is a Vargo titanium cup, 750ml capacity, so it's a really nice size. You know, it is a big mug, but it's just got so many uses, besides being a mug. Really handy that it's got some decent strainer holes on the top of there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but again, I can do a separate review on it. But you know, what I was looking for really was a bottle which would fit down in there nicely. The old set I had, the aluminium set, it did all nest away neatly, so it was really important for me to have something similar to that really, just so that you're not taking up any extra room in your pack that you don't need to. Okay, so final things now, not much more to cover with you, but I've got a map of the area. This isn't actually mine, I borrowed this. I don't think I'll be using it too much, but it's just handy there. Now this is one thing I realised they probably didn't have in the 1700s. It's a solar power charger for the phone and also for the camera. You know, phone's pretty important thing nowadays really. I don't intend to use it a great deal, but it needs to be there for an emergency if I need it, so it's important to me just to have some way of being able to feed that phone power. Smartphones, they don't last 5 minutes batteries now, so just a sure way of making sure I can power up my devices if I need to. I won't use it unless I absolutely have to, but it's just handy to have it there. Finally, I'm taking this with me. Now the reason I'm filming on my other camera today is so as I could show you that, you know, that I'm taking this, and this is typically the sort of size that it packs down to, so it goes in a pack really nicely. The camera I'm filming on now is a real pain because the field of view isn't very big, which is why I'm having to film like this. So from now on I'm going to do most of my reviews, if not all my reviews, with this camera. Field of vision is brilliant, so you can get everything in that you need to. But it's also just so super light, it's brilliant. Got it on a little tripod which is just as light, you know, if not lighter. So it's perfect to take on a trip with you really and not really feel the weight. So I'll be taking this with me, and obviously the charger cable to run with the solar charger should I need it. And that's pretty much it really, guys. I've got a few more food items to go in yet, but I'm not going to go through that right now. I'll go through that in the other video that I've got, just basic sort of food items rather than anything too fancy. But it's going to be really fun, really interesting. I think it's going to be testing. Like I said, I'm a little bit worried about the fire. It's rained quite heavily here for the last few days, so I'm just really hoping that I can source out some dry enough tinder to get going off the char cloth. I've really got very little experience with char cloth. I've only ever got a fire going once on a bushcraft course that I did, and it took me absolutely ages, and that was with stuff that had been found out for us, so a little bit nervous about that, but you know, we'll see how it goes. And I'm not taking any kind of backup stuff, you know, I'm not taking a lighter, so if I don't get the fire started, then I guess I'm going hungry. So yeah, it's going to be good, looking forward to it. So that's it for this video, thanks for watching. Sorry about the quality this time with the way the camera's panned in, and also I'm just not used to doing this kind of thing. I'm not used to presenting. This is, you know, one of my this is actually my first video that I've recorded. It might not be the first one you watch because I plan on doing a bit of an introduction to the channel first, but this is the first video that I've done, so hopefully it's come across not too bad. Probably not the best presenting skills in the world, but it's a learning curve for me, something new, something I enjoy talking about, so hopefully it's of use to you guys. Really encourage anyone that would be interested in doing this kind of challenge to just go out and give it a go. If you want any advice, just drop me a message. Any comments on how you think I can improve the way I do these kind of videos, more than happy to take criticism. Thanks very much. Second video should be along shortly. Cheers guys.